Alright, here's another episode. I haven't done one in a while. I actually have some footage, but I've been trying to get a few other things done that I wanted to include in another video, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to edit that together, but I wanted to do a quick update. It's been a long time, but I've got a few things that I figured I could show at least now where we're at. So as you can see, we're taken apart again. As you can also see, we have the high marks installed and we have the sliders installed. So I started getting some things put back together. I got the 35s, my new wheels. Those are Method 701s for those who are interested, and I got 35 on the Yokohama Geolanders, which is what I had previously with the 33s. I went ahead and installed the high marks so I could put the 35s on. I've been driving around like that for a little bit as I've been getting the tuning done. And then last weekend I put on the sliders. So I have SOS sliders. They stick out a little so I can use them as a step. They are no longer in business. I'm not sure what happened, but I ordered those before my whole mud incident. So I've had those actually before I even pulled the engine. So I think they went out of business about a year ago. I've had them sitting in the house for about 2 years, but finally installed those. Excuse my mess right here. We'll blur that out. But just to kind of show what's going on right now is, as you can see, I have the whole front suspension taken apart. So I have to pull the front diff. Let's get under here so I can kind of show what's going on. So I had covered in another video, actually I think it's the footage I don't have up yet, but I had an oil leak at the very back corner, this back corner up in here from the oil pan, and I originally thought it was this. This is my, this is where, on this oil pan design, this is where the oil filter would go, but the oil filter did not clear the front diff up there. So I have this cooler. It's really not that much of a cooler, but it does keep the oil cool. But I have this as a bypass block, so that screws on where the oil filter would go, and then I have my AN set up. And then, as you remember, hopefully in another video, I have that ran up to here, and then my oil filter is next to the sway bar, between the sway bar and the radiator. So this is my oil filter now, and this is my setup to get it into the engine. But I had a mild oil leak. It was very, very minimal. Like, it hasn't even dropped enough for me to actually put oil into it. I've got about 2,000 miles on this oil, but I don't want it to leak at all. You know, if I have to do a water crossing, if it leaks oil, that means water could come in or mud can come in. So I have to pull the oil pan. As you can see, I already took it off. I was hoping with how short it was that I would have enough clearance up here to be able to slide it and angle it back. I have to angle it down to clear the transmission and be able to reseal it, but the front diff had other things in mind. So the front diff is not allowing me to do that. I've lowered it as much as I could without fully removing it, and it still left me with about a ½ inch that I needed. So I can only access the passenger side engine mount. The driver's side, I have some AC lines. The steering is ran through there, so I can't access it very well unless I remove a bunch of other stuff. And I've fully charged my AC system, so I don't want to mess with that. So the next logical thing is I'm going to have to actually pull the front diff, which I was hoping to not have to do, but I've gone ahead and spent today. I was able to pull everything. Everything's off. This thing's ready to drop. I do have to unplug stuff, so I'm intending to do that tomorrow. I have to unplug the locker and then disconnect the breather. But I'll be pulling this down tomorrow, and then hopefully I'll have all my access to the oil pan. I'll go ahead and get that resealed. I already have the sealant and everything. Get some new fresh oil in there, and hopefully call it good. That's kind of the last really big thing for the swap to be, get us to 100%. I did fix the transmission lines. I have some footage of that. It probably won't be posted yet, but I will still try to edit that video. But I've reran the lines. I found a block that goes straight down. You could see the lines coming out of it right there. Those that don't know, the 8L90 has the thermostat for the fluid is actually in that block that comes out. I don't have the factory one over here anymore, but the factory one has a block that comes out and sits like this on the side of the transmission and comes straight down. The lines come straight down, and the thermostat is in there. I found one from a company. They're called Improved Racing, and they have one where it comes straight. It comes like out a little bit and then straight down, and it has AN fittings. So I ran new lines. Right there is where it connects to the old lines that run up to the cooler. So we've got that all set, and I actually got one with a 140 degree thermostat in there, so it's actually going to run cooler than it would factory. And I've probably put about maybe 400 or 500 miles on it so far. I don't see any leaks, and my transmission has never been over 140. It pretty much, as soon as that thing opens up, I think it maybe, actually I'll take that back, it gets to about 145, and that's it. I haven't had it any hotter than that. So the thermostat seems to be doing its job. Let's see what else we've got going on. I did install some Tibrim bump stops. I've got them on the front and the rear. I think I talked about, but I haven't shown in a video in a while because of I'm still editing some stuff. So I have installed the Devers. So there's my Devers. I removed the lift block, and I also installed Tibrim bumps on the back. So I removed the lift block because before I installed the high marks, when I put the Devers on, I had an Adaleaf, and when I took the Adaleaf and the factory spring out and just put the Dever in, leaving the lift block, it jacked the front up, or the rear up way too high. If you remember in a video, I've actually lowered the front to maximize my up-down travel. So I'm at 50-50 up-down, which means my front is only up about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 over stock. And so with the Adaleaf, I was pretty much dead level, because the Adaleaf had me up about maybe in 3/4 of an inch. But when those Devers went in there, it put me up way higher than the Adaleaf did. So I pulled the block, and now I'm basically right where I was with the Adaleaf. So there's no block in there. I don't know if I posted a video yet, but I do have a driveline vibration that I'm trying to address, which is why I haven't posted a video. Is I have footage of the rear. So basically what happened with the rear is I was playing around with getting the height right, but I was also trying to do the pinion angle, because since I shimmed the drivetrain at the transmission mount up a little bit to clear the front drive shaft, It actually threw off my operating angles. So my pinion angle and drive shaft, the angle between the pinion and the drive shaft was way off from the angle of the driveline to drive shaft. So I was playing with some shims at the same time that I was messing with the leaf springs, and it got all messed up. So I took a step back. I got the suspension right. Once I got my devers installed, I got the height that I wanted, and all of that was set. Then I redid my angle calculations and found out I actually did not need a shim for the rear. I should be within the parameters of operating angles for the drive shaft, but I still have a vibration. The vibration has decreased after doing all that work, but it's still there. I think I have this one right, but I actually think the front drive shaft is my issue. So for those that know and have watched my other videos, let's get underneath here. So I have a double cardan joint, as you can see right there. Please excuse the horrible exhaust. But I put a double cardan joint because working with Adams, that was what I needed to minimize the diameter of the output from the transfer case, so that I could clear that this cross member without having to hack it up. So we did a double cardan. I think Adams was assuming that my front diff was level. It is not. So the front diff in the Colorado, I have a diff drop. Well, it's not installed at the moment, but I have a diff drop. So the diff drop angled my differential this way, but the drive shaft is coming in this way. So the operating angle kind of does this into this, which is not good for a double cardan. A double cardan needs a 0 degree operating angle. I was at 7.5. So I played with the diff drop. One of the issues is I have to run a diff drop, not necessarily for angles, but for clearance. So I don't have the suspension in, but in order for my RCVs to clear the kings, because the RCVs come really close to this bottom part of the shock, and the only way that I could get the RCVs to clear is to diff drop. If I did not have the diff drop, the CV boot would be right into this. So I played with some different spacers that I picked up, and I was able to drop the diff a little over a 1/2 inch. I think I'm at about maybe 5/8 of an inch, not quite 3/4. But if I drop the diff, about 5/8 of an inch, then I actually re-angle it this way, and my operating angle I got down to 3.5. So I took 4 degrees out doing that, and it did minimize the vibration. So for those that don't know, when you're driving and your CVs are spinning, because even though you're not engaged in four-wheel drive, there's no load on it, but because of just the way the four-wheel drive system is designed, the CVs are going to spin. We don't have locking hubs. So the CVs spin, which in turn will spin the drive shaft. So your front drive shaft will spin even though you're in two-wheel drive while you're driving down the road. It just doesn't have load on it. The load isn't put on it until you engage the transfer case, which is engaging four-wheel drive. And so I think that's why the vibration isn't like very harsh. It's very, very minimal. Like I could barely hear it. But because I have a wideband gauge and that gauge is in a pod, that's where I hear it. I don't hear it anywhere else. So it's very, very minimal amount of vibration, but it's enough that I want to get it addressed. This thing, I could run this with the 3.5 degrees and be fine, but I really want to get rid of the vibration. So what I ended up doing is I found another, as you can see, I don't have the cross member that holds the front of the differential. The only other thing I could do to correct the angle is to drop the front side or the back side of the front diff and continue leveling it out. So there's the cross member. This is the factory one. And as you can see, this right here is where the front diff mounts. So what I did was, and let's go inside. We'll show it right here. So I took another cross member, cut out this section, and dropped it down, re-welded it in, repainted it, and did some CAD work to figure out how much this had to drop. According to my calculations, which hopefully are correct, don't know yet, haven't put this on, I needed to drop this 7/16 of an inch, and I should have the operating angle at 0 degrees. So this will be getting reinstalled once we get the oil pan corrected. So that's kind of an update right now. I'm hoping, as you can see, it's dark out, so I'm calling it quits for the evening. But I do have tomorrow off, so tomorrow my intent is to drop the transfer case. I'm sorry, drop the front diff and get this oil pan resealed, and then hopefully have this all back together. But I wanted to kind of give a quick update. Not sure I'll post the other videos. I've got to go back through the footage to kind of see, because I had some footage of the rear end when it was wrong. It wasn't set up correctly, and I don't think I'm going to use that footage because it is meaningless now that I've kind of figured out what was going on. But I'll see what I have, and may or may not have another video, so I may just continue from here, kind of showing, but I'm going to go through the footage to determine what I may need to cover in the next video. So what I intend to do is I'm going to fix this oil pan, make sure that's all good. Once we're all good there, I plan on starting this before I put all this back together, because I don't really want to do this for a fourth time. But I'm going to start it, let it run, and make sure that it's not leaking oil anymore. And then once we're done with that, I'll put it all back together. Once I put it back together, I'll probably do another video to discuss the driveline vibration issue, and hopefully it's resolved at that time. Once that's resolved, then I can call this good. I've already put the steps back, or the sliders on. I've already put the high marks on. The 35s are on. The only thing we've really got is tuning. I've moved on. So I was tuning mass airflow, which took a while because I had the issues where the mass airflow was wired incorrectly. Got that fixed. I think we have the mass airflow dialed. We've moved into speed density tuning, which is tuning the virtual volumetric efficiency tables. I've started getting into that. I've had to start over a couple times. One of the times was because I kept getting a really bad stumble, because this line for my catch can came open. It tore, so I had to cut a new line. I cut it a little longer. It was kind of pulling really tight and ended up cutting open, and was giving me a really bad vacuum issue. And so every time I would hit the gas while tuning, it was basically going super lean, and I was trying to tune it, not realizing that it was an issue here. Decided to finally kind of go over things and saw the underside of this was tore. fixed it, stumbling is gone, and decided to just start over that tuning process because it had been stumbling for a while. Other than that, under here, nothing new. I just kind of have some stuff taken apart because I tried to tilt the motor to get a little bit more room by loosening that motor mount. And so this is all just removed for that. So I'll put that all back together before we get this thing going again. But yeah, other than that, a couple little cosmetic things. I put a cool little black ZR2 badge right there. I did get the transfer case skid from AEV. I've got that in here. So got it in there. I've done some test fitting. I actually am going to have to cut it. My measurements for my exhaust were a little off. So where the exhaust comes down kind of hits the front of this. So there'll be the front edge I'll have to trim up a little. I'm hoping that that'll make it work because I still have not... I can't get it up high enough to make sure the sump for the transfer case will still clear the Silverado setup. And I can't do that unless I cut it. So it's kind of like I'm going to have to cut it to hopefully make it work. But I'm hoping that just cutting it is enough and I don't have to do any modifications there. But we'll see how that goes. Once I get this thing back together, I'll put the skid plates on and then we're good. Just continue tuning, and then once I'm done tuning, I'll probably do a summary video. I'll probably try to do like a really... It's probably going to be long because I kind of go on rants, and I apologize for that, but I want to do a video kind of doing a summary of the whole build, because I did cover things in videos along the way that were changed later on due to either clearance or something didn't work out. So I'd like to kind of do like an overall summary of the entire kind of swap and what I did to kind of make it almost like a first video of like, hey, if you want to take this on and you want, you know, before you watch all of the videos and kind of see things that may not necessarily have came out in the final, you know, completely done part of the build, I want to kind of do like a, hey, watch this video first. This is the overall thing. So you may see some things that are different, but I changed along the way. So yeah, that video is probably going to be pretty lengthy because I'm hoping to try to cover like every little thing kind of along the way and kind of use that as a, you know, if you don't have to watch all the other videos, you can just watch this to kind of see each thing that was kind of used to accomplish this build. So that's kind of the quick update. Like always, anybody have any questions or comments, let me know and I'll get to them. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.